Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Omnia Performance Podcast with me, and only me. Sorry. Or great news, depending on how intrigued you are by today's discussion. Today's discussion is all about the love of the game, and by that I mean the process over the outcome. I have had some fascinating conversations over here. I'm in the Middle East at the moment for a training camp to get away from UK dreek and grey, horrible, cold, not suitable for outdoor bike riding training at all. I'm training for 10 Ironmans in 10 days in 10 cities. I've got about 300 to 400 kilometres of bike riding to do each week, and I'm going to be honest, I don't want to do it on the turbo trainer. So I'm here, and I've been attending run clubs, I've been going to swimming groups, I've been going for a few group rides, and I've had a lot of conversations because everyone here has got access to a lot of really great, purpose-built, flat bike tracks, really high-quality pools, really high-quality running tracks. Very easy to access compared to a lot of the things that I've had to juggle with, even just the fact that more swimming pools in the UK are publicly owned, which means they've got primary schools there at certain times, which means some days you're not going to get there at the same time you did the previous week. All these little things. And I've had a few discussions with people where I've emphasised how important enjoying the ability to utilise my fitness along the way is to me versus the actual outcomes of testing that fitness. And by that I mean I get so much more value from the sort of 10 plus years of training that I've committed to, from being able to rent a bike whilst I'm over here and cycle across the border with my passport into Oman and cycle on one of the most beautiful bits of scenery I've ever been on in my life. It was a deviation from the training plan. It was a bit of a last minute planned thing. It was a very early morning. I should have slept more. But I got to get up early, go with a mate over a border on a bike and see some beautiful things and hit some wonderful descents and have one of the best coffees and one of the best settings that I've ever had. And we sat down and we spoke about how much we love the game. And by the game, I mean the process. The passage of time when just working towards something. And how easy it is to lose sight of that. I think I've lost sight of that most in the past couple of years when I've been training for out-and-out speed road running. That's taken away my sense of adventure, my sense of freedom that fitness has given me. And I really do believe that fitness has given me more freedom than anything else has. I mean, it's my career, obviously, but mentally, the ability to go to a powerlifting gym on one side of the world and sort of hang out with the powerlifters, the ability to jump into a bike group without looking like an absolute tube, the ability to go to a run club at a track and not be getting dropped by everybody, the ability to jump in a pool and not have someone laugh at me, whatever it might be, not that anyone's going to laugh at me, obviously, but to be able to turn up and not feel like a mug is something that I'm very proud of having achieved, and it gives me such a high quality of life because it means I get to play around like I'm in PE class at primary school in lots of different ways, with lots of different people, in lots of different places. And I love that because it allows me to explore. And whilst I'm exploring, I think. And whilst I'm thinking, I'm exploring my own head. And in my own head, there's things to process, there's things to unpack, there's things to think about, and I can then implement those things. Whereas if you get lost along the way and the game becomes the number on the watch or the chip time at the end, and you become binarily fixed and maybe miss a few opportunities to deviate from the plan along the way, in my experience, that has not served me as much as really emphasizing the journey over the outcome has done. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, by the way, because obviously I know people are motivated by times. It's a great thing as an anchor to have to work towards, and it allows you to develop a training plan. It allows you to work towards specific training sessions and specific zones, and is very, very valuable. But in my opinion, only if that allows for the enjoyment of the process along the way. It allows for you to love the game. When things go wrong, you smile. When things go right, you smile. The emotional control and the emotional volatility that goes from a good session or a bad session can be quite intense. And if you care about what you're training for, if you've got a really good reason why, which we encourage you all to do, and I do. I was thinking about it the other day with Sean Conway up in the hills. What did I distill it down as for me? It was having previously no longer wanted to be here in 2016 with the suicide attempt for me, for those that might not be aware. I try my best to make the most of the fact that I am. And nothing has taught me more about myself, about my potential, my limits, things I want to do differently, than exploring. And I mean physically, mentally, environmentally. hybrid training, whatever you want to call it these days, the balancing and progress of strength and endurance training concurrently has given me that. And that's why I created Omnia, because we want to give you that. And we all have different reasons why. We all have different motivations. We all have different external factors. We all have different internal factors. But that means that we all have a different game. But if I was to distill it down, if we could all learn to love that individual distinctive game, then we've won. We've created freedom for ourselves through movement. And that is a very, very powerful thing. And I'm sure a lot of you listening will agree, because I'm very proud of our community. I'm very proud of our listeners. I'm very proud of the people that engage with us, because I view you as the intellectual and open-minded people that train on a regular basis. So give yourselves a pat on the back. Well done, well done. But I think that a friend of mine called Brode, who's looking after me really well whilst I'm out here, he's lended me his van and everything. It's been great, and he's not accepting any form of payment, annoyingly. I'm going to try and sneak, I don't know, maybe I'll like grandma him and shake his hand at the end with 20 quid in my hand or something. But I dealt with him a lot more than 20 quid though, to be fair. I wonder what the maximum amount of cash I can withdraw out here is. I'd raise suspicions. Anything over £100 is weird now, isn't it? Conversation for another time. Anyway, I've derailed myself. Brode, yes. So we sat in the coffee shop in Oman, in Kasab, for anyone interested. Beautiful spot. What was it called? It was called La Tasty Coffee Shop in Kasab. Coastline, really nice coffee, stunning setting, stunning bike ride. Would recommend. And what he got me thinking about was truly loving the game is embracing when things go tits up. And I think back to ultras, I think back to training sessions, I think back to when I've been trying to pick up the Husafell, for example. And in the moment, I've got much, much better over the years with experience at being able to embrace the thing that isn't going the way that I'd hoped in the moment as a part of the process. And I go into problem-solving mode rather than panic mode. And that is a skill that's been developed, but it's a skill that's only been developed through exposure, willing exposure. And I think that's what we should all keep in mind with training on a week-to-week basis, on a month-to-month basis, when event day comes around. The bigger the event, the more variables there are. That's why I've really enjoyed the extreme triathlon training, because you've got an Ironman distance triathlon, but then you put it in a miserable, cold, hilly setting, and all of a sudden you've got all these other variables. So when a variable doesn't go my way, it'd be foolish of me to be irritated, because I've asked for this. But in asking for it, what I'm asking for is I'm asking to be tested. And when I'm tested, I'm forced to test myself. Obviously, that's what happens when you get tested, but I'm forced to test the preparation for this moment. And if you just fold immediately, then you've missed the point. Because the test is what you asked for. So, I think we should all aspire to love the game as much as we love the outcome. Because in loving the game, you are truly free in training this way. And to be competent across many disciplines concurrently is a wonderful place to be, because it means you can explore the world, your friends, family events, whatever it might be, in so many different ways. And that's what I get so much joy from myself personally, is whenever I go to a new place, and I go to new places quite a lot. I'm very fortunate with the business and with the sort of media side of what I do to be able to go to lots of new places and have to go to lots of places actually. And I'll always be on the internet for hours and hours looking where's the best open water swim, where's the best swimming pool, what the times it's open, what are the best bike rides, what are the best running routes, all this sort of stuff, because that's how I get to explore them. And if anyone's ever been to a new city and gone on a run to explore, you'll know that sort of childish joy that you experience. And that childish joy, I think, is what we would like to elicit in our athletes. Whether that's at the start line, whether it's halfway through the event, whether it's at the finish line. Let's call this adult PE. None of us are fighting for first place or world records. Well, first place in world championships or national championships, whatever it might be. You might win your local park run or whatever it might be. But generally speaking, we are not training to be the best in the world. We are training to improve ourselves physically and mentally. And the training to do so is designed to create situations in which things are trying to break us, whether that's with increased training volume, increased intensity, or increased frequency, or maybe if you've got a more extreme setting like you're training for a 100 miler, it might be the environment, it might be the terrain, that sort of thing. So when you have a waterproof that leaks, or when you miss your 4th 1 mile rep during a marathon prep, you miss the pace, or when your bike locks up when you're pedaling uphill and your chain snaps, when your wetsuit rips, whatever it might be, just try and think of a way that you can smile and you can embrace and you can laugh, and not to go all Jocko Willink, but you can go good, because this is exactly what this was designed to do, was create a set of variables that I had to navigate, so that when I had successfully navigated them, I have developed a better set of skills to tackle when variables don't go my way in the future. And I firmly believe that can be implemented across the board in business, personal life, friends, whatever it might be. And I like skill acquisition. I like feeling that I'm constantly moving forward. I know that a lot of you guys do too. And I think the mindset with which we approach this stuff is the key. I think social media, for the most part, I'd like to think we do a good job of not doing this, but I think social media, for the most part, has become very, very outcome-centric, and we would like to push against the grain on that and be much more process-centric, because doing it for the love of the game rather than the love of the medal means that we're focusing on the person rather than the performance. And whilst the two are intertwined, I think the key detail is this is amateur performance, not professional performance. And we're doing this stuff willingly. There's no financial compensation. It's actually it's potentially taking away from financial compensation, because you're spending money and you're using time that could be allocated to earning more money, for example. So, therefore, if you ever stop enjoying it, or if it ever stops being fulfilling, or it stops giving you the momentum that you're looking for, then learning to pivot is a good place to be. And that's difficult, because our identity becomes wrapped into what we're training for, and we'll all have good reasons why. But I would just encourage you all to keep front of mind, am I getting what I asked for with this process? You don't sign up to a 100-mile because you think it's going to be easy. So when it gets hard, when fatigue's compounded, when you're 6 weeks into a 12-week block and you're thinking, oh God, this isn't going to happen, this is all falling apart, that is the reward of the process. Is you get to, in your fatigued and beaten up self, ask yourself questions, and a phrase we've used before is you get to sort of meet yourself and shake your hand along the way and go, right bud, what are we doing now? And it's up to you to figure that out. And it sounds a bit trite, it sounds a bit trivial, I do appreciate that, but look, I try and be as poetic as I can with these things because I love training. You've probably picked up on that by now. But the ability to smile in the face of adversity is a very valuable one, and we generally have a lot of control over the variables that go into our training, down to what we choose to be training for, down to when we choose to be training for it, what time of the day, how long we give ourselves. So in that controlled environment, we can develop the skill of being able to smile in the face of adversity, which means that hopefully at some point, well, not hopefully, but unfortunately at some point when we'll face adversity further down the line, at whatever level that might be, we are better equipped to tolerate it in a more proactive way. And that's not to downplay adversity. Obviously, I don't wish adversity on anyone, but it's pretty likely to come because the world has a habit of doing that. So a phrase I keep at the front of mind, and something I've actually taken away from speaking with my friend Brode, is whenever I feel like I'm in the bin, or I feel like I'm maybe going down in my head a little bit, morale's dipping, or one of the variables hasn't gone my way, I'll just say I love the game. I pulled a valve out of my bike the other day, which meant all of my tubeless sealant just pissed all over the floor, basically. It was just, I had to go get more tubeless sealant, I couldn't get the valve back in. And I felt rage spike within me because I was just about to get out on the bike. And I just giggled and laughed, and I forced myself to say, part of the game, I love the game. And then I went into problem solving mode, and I got it fixed, and I got out for my bike ride an hour later than I'd hoped for, which meant I had to cut it about 45 minutes short to be able to get to where I was meant to be next. But that little mantra, that little bit of power that I took away from the situation was really quite fulfilling. And again, freedom. It gave me the freedom to not be controlled by those circumstances and to just be able to figure them out as I go. So I would love to hear from any of you listening. I would love to hear from any of you watching. How comfortable and confident you feel in navigating the challenges of a training process or an event prep when things don't go your way. because it's very, very glamorous and easy to talk about when it is going your way. And that's where we get the binary data, we get the big training volume weeks, we get the big sessions, we get the nice heart rate graphs, we get all of these things. But when life gives you a nice big smack in the face, what happens next? So if anyone has any suggestions or thoughts on things you'd like us to discuss on how to navigate that stuff better from a practical point of view, please do reach out. If anyone's got any other mantras that they find are really, really useful in moments like that have got them through some ultras, triathlons, whatever it might be, or some tough times in their personal life, or if anyone disagrees, if anyone thinks they have a case for why outcomes are more important than the process, I would love to hear it, because I love this community. We've got a very, very diverse group of people from all over the world, and we're all training for lots of different things in lots of different time zones, and I love it. So as much perspective as possible would be fantastic, and we will very soon be getting some of you guys onto the podcast for perspective sharing, discussions. You need to be an athlete of ours, obviously, so if you listen to this and you're not an athlete, then head to the description down below where you can become one and should become one, because we will help you love the game. That was too much of a sales push. I'll move on from that, but you just go to the description. It's kind of the long story short there. What's the phrase? The man who loves walking will walk further. I'm going to have to look it up. Oh no. The man who loves walking will walk further than the man who loves the destination. No, I was very close. Probably didn't need to get my phone out for that one. But I think that's the key. That is the key. And to be able to develop that skill is a very freeing place to be. It means that all of the emotional volatility that goes with day-to-day existence, kids, family members, work, business stresses, training stresses, travel stresses, whatever it might be, they're going to come. So if we can be calm, collected, and develop the skill set that allows us to think on our feet and adapt quickly, I think that is a very, very unspoken benefit of training for all this stuff. Nothing has taught me more about myself, about how to navigate challenges more than ultras and triathlon has. Strength training has given me a whole load of other benefits that I'll talk about separately another time, and I've spoken about on here before. But the ability to be presented with something going wrong and the ability to take a breath and figure out what to do next is something I've massively improved in over the years as a result of incrementally testing myself more and more with endurance events. So you gotta love the game, ladies and gentlemen. I love the game. Do you love the game? Let us know. Thank you for listening. Bit of a waffly one, but one that I enjoyed and felt I could share because I've really been thinking about it a lot, and I think there's so much power in the fact that as I was looking at all of my sealant on the floor and a valve in my hand that couldn't go back in, I went from feeling furious to having a smile on my face from just reminding myself that this is what I asked for. This is a part of the process, and I love the game. Don't forget to like the video if you're watching, comment with your thoughts, feelings, and or insights down below. Please do reach out as well if you've got any points on the things that I mentioned earlier. Hit subscribe or follow on whatever platform you are listening on, and rate the show 5 stars, please, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thank you very much. Completely ran out of breath at the end here. Wow, terrible finish. It's like me tripping over the finish line for the 500 pounds I've got sub 5 minute mile. At least I'm consistent. Thank you very much for watching / listening, and goodbye. Much better pronounced.